Thank you so much, Aiden. It is always nice to hear from a professor who closes a session because he gives us the art of the possible. He gives us the art of what will happen into the future, what we can look forward to. This was quite a fascinating session. We had all the way from sensors to campuses to control centers to communications, and then turning it back into successes in terms of smart city implementations, and then we ended with the art of the possible. We will take about 3-4 questions. I know we are running late on time, but I think it's important to have that discussion on questions and things like that. So are there any questions out there? If not, while you think about one, I will throw one out there to the panelists. Um, from a smart city slash success perspective, what do you see are, and some of you are from India and some of you are here as guests and who do work in India, what do you see, if you, each of you can give me a quick answer on the number one challenge that you see in your mind that prevents smart cities from becoming successful in India, what would that be? I'll start with you, Kumar. We had a sidebar discussion, so.
Thank you very much. We have that 5 years of experience of building some 4 or 5 smart cities in India. The first and foremost is the stakeholders are to be aligned properly, and there should be some kind of the coordinated efforts, and we should have the clear understanding between the stakeholders. And we should define the priority has to be defined. And over and above, during the implementation, I think who are the, if it is an infrastructure creations, then mostly all this, right from the corporation level, the municipal corporation level, who are actually giving us in terms of giving the permissions for trenching and other thing which is required for basically creating an infrastructure, some kind of a single window permissions and the time-bound permissions are required. This is number one. Number two, we have to adopt the indigenous-based technology. Of course, we have a large pool of talents, and I think Mr. Vengat's presentation was so, it's very clear and so awesome. We should also encourage some kind of, we should have take a brave decision in actually, instead of going for the conventional method of pre-qualifying, we should have some kind of, where we should give some kind of a proof of concept to encourage the
Moving on to Mr. Agamjot.
Yeah, just to add upon what Mr. Kumar is saying, I would, what I think is that competency at grassroots level, that actually needs to be enhanced, because ultimately those are the people who are going to be handed over the technologies to, move it on, take it up in the sustainable.
Wonderful.
So
thank you. Wonderful. Rakesh?
My view is that there are a lot of talks, there are a lot of concepts which Mr. Modi has given, and the government is doing a great job. Now, I'll take a hat from an entrepreneurship background, because before joining Tata, which is a week back, I was an entrepreneur. And driving Swachh Bharat program, I went to the grassroots, and my background is I'm from Intel, Qualcomm, so I was living a different life. So the real stark realities of India in the way the system is, the concepts are there, the technology is there, the communication barriers, the difference in the ULBs versus the municipal corporations versus the government, central government, the central local government relationships. Now implementation becomes a challenge, and the ground level guys who are actually responsible are not educated enough to understand what smart cities is all about. Education is the biggest challenge. Motivation, education, and accepting and wanting to believe that this is possible. These are the biggest challenge I faced when I went across and saw these in various other smaller cities. Because we sitting in this forum and in this environment talk a lot about things which are very, very evolved. In the ground reality in the Indian context is very different. So that's my biggest challenge, I personally believe. Because the ecosystem will build. We all will have our ecosystem partners in place, the MSIs, the L&Ts, we are a partner to L&T itself. They can go about doing the projects, but at the end of the day, if the projects are not implemented in the right way, and if the people are not involved and they're not believing as to what is happening to them, then that's a challenge for me. And that's what I personally felt.
Massimiliano. Here you go.
I would echo the colleagues in terms of leadership and stakeholders alignment. And one way of driving that alignment is by focusing on the outcomes, on the citizen-centric outcomes, rather than starting from the silos and the technology, focusing on the outcome. And a very quick example, the city of Valencia had implemented smart water metering devices for billing and demand management and so forth and so on. And now they're thinking, how can they use those smart water metering to provide services to the vulnerable people? So if an elderly person has not been using water for 2 days, probably there's something wrong with their health. So it's the citizen-centric outcome that matters. It's
Wonderful,
not the
wonderful.
technology
Thank
project.
you. Aiden?
Yeah, I agree with totally with Massimiliano, because everything is about citizen. So every solutions should require citizen centric, and they should be benefit for them, and it should be also affordable, because there are very differences between the income levels. So everyone cannot afford the system. So governments, while planning the future, they should take care of those situations.
Wonderful. Venkat?
I'll talk about two things. One which the government has done well, and one where probably we need to think a little more. What it has done fantastically well is to remove the role of smart city from the day-to-day operations of a city and create an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, which delivers the smart city. Roles and responsibilities are different from the municipal corporation or the municipality, and therefore there is accountability and the structures are in place. What I think we need to figure out in the next couple of years is, how do I sustain and monetize some of the equipment that I've deployed on the field, so that the city can pay for its own, various equipment on its own without keeping on looking for the funds from outside. So if we can fix the sustainability aspect and the monetization of the equipment that it has been given as a capex from the government, I think we would have solved the problem.
Wonderful. First off, I want to thank all the panelists. Was a very interesting, even on the closing comments. Any question? Again, I'm just going to give it out there to the audience. One question or two. Yeah, we have one question from the young man here. Right there. Go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Yash Singh Chauhan. I'm representing Hindustan Computers Limited over here. So my question is for the complete leadership team over here. So I will start with you, Mani sir. It's like that, I will see that how do I break down the things. The first is that there is a multiple information over here. And then what we have to do is that we have to assimilate all of this information and form a certain patches of knowledge. And later on, when we can just combine all of that into a certain concepts which can be implemented or which can be applied somewhere. So sir, right now I am taking smart city as a concept as of now, and we have discussed it at various presentations, and we have been discussing it from past 2 to 3 days. So sir, my question to you is that on the application side, where do we stand right now? Specifically for India, where do you see that we stand for? If I say that one is the, because somebody mentioned over there that it's a complete journey. We cannot say that it is 0 or 1. So I'm asking you that on a scale of 0 to 100, where do you see that, where do we stand as of now in terms of this smart city concept application?
Before I jump into that, why don't we go from maybe this time from right to left from Venkat? If you can just give a number, again, just because we're running out of time, give a number and maybe a short answer on why you believe that is the number on a scale of 0 to 100 in terms of where we are on the smart city scale.
And sir, if you are
as a country.
Yeah, so if you're reaching out to them, then along with that, the second thing you should answer is that where do you see that? If you're answering that, let's say that we stand at 10 as of now.
Can you make it quick, because
yes,
we
sure,
are running
sure.
out of time.
So if you are standing at 10 right now, then how much time will it take to take the 20 steps ahead? So that is my question.
Can we move some of that to later, just because we are running out of time? But I want to give them a chance to jump
Let me
in.
try this. See, the number that we saw recently in the papers was that 7% of the budget allocated for smart cities has been utilized this year. That is what you know, the number which was there in the headline. It was glaring headline because we said it's been 3 years since the Smart Cities mission has started, but only 7% of funds have been utilized. Now, government works a particular way. I would believe that the majority of the grunt work, that is aligning people, aligning aims, aligning objectives, and changing mindset of thinking of urbanization as an opportunity was the biggest task.
Yeah.
And that has been done. For me, from now, it is cruise control. One city has implemented it, others will do it in the future.
Wonderful. Aiden, your thoughts based on what you have learned so far?
Oh, the numbers is a very interesting subject. You know, the numbers just symbols for me. You know, unless you put some meaning on it. For example, yesterday we were talking about some numbers, and one of the friends thought that I also said the same story.
No, you're good. We can
Story
hear you.
to you this noon. We were talking about how expensive was the PV system integration 10 years ago. And one of the friends said that, okay, it was 10 times more expensive compared to this year. But we were something missing in that point. 10 years ago, okay, the price was like that. But also the efficiency was different of the systems. Panel systems those years was about the 10% efficiency, but now we are talking about 30% efficiency for the systems. So we need to take into consideration that too, while
we just
interpreting
need to
it.
move on. I'm sorry, I hate to cut you off, but we do need to.
Yeah.
we do
So
need to-
therefore, it has a meaning. Saying something 7%, 15%, 16% sometimes could be very meaningful, and sometimes may not. So I cannot tell exactly about the situation that I don't know. Exactly.
That's all right.
Okay.
If we can move on.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I hate to cut you off, but we do need to move, sir.
Yeah, I think I would echo what Venkat was saying. It's probably 30-40% if you think of the leadership and the culture and the change that has been happening. It's probably in the lower range, like 5 to 10% when it comes to realizing the benefits of technology, sharing the data across the ecosystem. That's where more work needs to be done with a focus on the outcomes.
Thank you, thank you.
I agree with the panelists, and just to add that a lot of work has been done in terms of getting things aligned. It's more about execution, and with the political environment and the election coming in, a lot of work will be done. So there's a lot of optimism there. Ecosystem is there, application providers are there, all stuff is there. It's more about implementation, which is going to happen now.
So I would say that the sustainability of the projects is the only part which is, left out. Otherwise, I will say it's almost 50%. I'm being a bit optimistic here, but yes, well begun is half done. So that.
Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, every city has shown the way. In fact, Tamil Nadu is number one in terms of the unconventional energy. Delhi shows the way of the mobility. Nagpur shows the way of future city ready, and then the fiber infrastructure. Then Pune shows the way of multiple service integrations of more than the 47 or 48. As far as integration or whatever he is talking about, the application side, one is definitely we don't have that many use cases. The use cases has to be generated to suit the cities to be in operations. Yes, we are actually if we scale from 0 to 100, we are definitely below 10 now. And it will take at least 2 to 3 years for us to stabilize and then move forward.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say I will be the contrarian and say we are south of 10%. Because one of the things that we did not talk about today, and I was hoping to bring it up, is along with a smart city, we need a smart citizen also. That ability to understand what's going on. We had some discussion on citizen involvement and so on. But we are running out of time. This is a subject that I can talk for days, and some of my colleagues here have seen me talk for an entire day about it. But we will, with that, adjourn this session. And Aishwarya, we turn this back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Vadari.